So this is improvement brainstorm part two because my damn iPad went to sleep while I was talking. But the attack requires an entity, so that's the tricky part. Is how do we pass forward an entity to attack? How does it know which one to attack? With blocks we have one in specific dimensions, but with entities, I'm not sure we're gonna have that luxury. So we'll have to probably put a pin attack. Let's see. I'm not used to taking notes on this iPad yet. I'm still used to grid paper, but I'm trying new things. So let's look at inputs. So we looked at a couple of the inputs. I'm gonna hop back into. I'm looking at the code here for what all inputs we've got. Input node base. So we've got can dig block. So that's basically, we had our grid again. Zoom out, I'm just gonna go over here. So let's just say we've got our bodies, their feet is there, or maybe even they're one up from that. There's gonna be boxes on all the sides. I don't know why I'm drawing it like this is horrible. Then there's gonna be another one there, and another one there, and another one there, another one there, another one there. So that's all the boxes directly on that it could touch. We'll say that this is everything, on its feet. We're gonna call it 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. It's Z. Those are all Z zeros. Z1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then what? I love this thing sometimes I hate it. iPad Pro, still not sure if it's a sound investment. I'm torn. See, I don't even know what that is. Oh, the keyboard's triggering. So we get 2, 2, 2, which is all the blocks we'll say that are at its head height. In reality, I'm going to have to go much further out than this, but I'm just drawing this out to visualize my math. And then 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3. Now we're actually forgetting something because there's the block that is it's occupied. I forgot this one. 2, 3, 3. So those are all above its head. So, and then there's actually the blocks it's occupying. So we can safely assume that's one of at least 3 types. So this 0, 1 has just go 0, 1, 2, 3, because I don't know how to draw this. Those, imagine those kind of stacking on top of each other. That's one of 3 types is probably air or water or lava. I suppose it could be something else, but those are the ones that stick to mind. And so we can basically say, if can touch block is basically, we could probably combine that with the position there because we just have to keep extending this grid, this 3-dimensional crappy looking grid out infinitely. Can C block, that's a different one because blocks, I originally can C block was supposed to be, are they within if they're facing this way, are they, within, let's use a different color here. Let's go blue. Are they within this realm of blocks there? Because they were facing that direction, so we just assume you couldn't see behind it. I got recipe and inventory. That one we could probably still do. I think that's doable. On correlate attack, that's a single event. You could say was attacked recently, something like that. Because technically this thing's ticking every cycle, every half second. It's trying to calculate, and it just says, "Oh, can I do this? Okay, input, output, input, output, input, output." That's a horrible drawing of what I'm trying to indicate. But maybe rain started on rain or rain started, last tick. So it would all be like last tick stuff. So it wouldn't actually happen when it happens. Like we could do health, health is at, or health delta. So let me change back to black. go back to, we got attack, we got health, at, health delta. A lot of this is going to be deltas. You know, what was it at, what is it at now? So we're looking for changes, you know, in the environment around us. You know, without change, then there's nothing, but there's plenty of change in there, trust me. You know, food, at, you know, food, delta. Let's just keep scrolling down. Entity move, so that's a tricky one. So if you sense an entity moving and it matches certain criteria, you know, or maybe even which direction it moves. So like an entity of type explosive moves, you know. So I wonder, I have to look at what that event is. You know, entity swing arm. Probably take a look at that. Entity hurt. You know, I wonder if we can get a health delta out of that. So let's go. Let's just look at that. You know, so that's going to be a position delta. Well, first we're going to filter by type, and then we're going to go position delta. So the tricky thing is, if it doesn't give us its previous location, when it gives us that entity move event, then and its current location, then I can't do that delta so easily. So I need to create some type of memory for this thing, which is a whole different ball game. Giving these things memories, I'm already running out of processing power. I mean, we put them in Redis and just have a data store of Boolean variables, which I really want to do, but we're not there yet. Player collect, so that's a item delta. I wonder if we do an inventory delta. We store the inventory and see like, hey, it's changed this much since last time. That'd be an interesting one. I've got digging completed, digging aborted, move. So move would have to be a position delta. I guess I could do force move position delta. I'm gonna go down a little lower. So if you move, you know, if you move +1 and -1. So the thing is, this, when we get super complex, I think what's happening at some of our higher levels, they get so complex that they become frozen right now, because there's so many, they're so broad. Let's just say that, you know, if they sense an entity moving, then they, you know, then it tries to fire off 3 different things right now, or tries to place a block. Like, it's good at a low level, but when you start getting more complex, it seems to be an issue. Another problem is, since we're running out of compute processing, I may have to write this in C or something, which C is not my strongest language, so, but I've done it before. I could probably brush something off. And maybe even Java, though. Java I could probably do. Java's not the super most efficient one, but being as Minecraft is already written in Java. But of course it takes up a ton of space. I don't know. I'm getting off in the weeds. Is in, is on, collision. I've got all those. Collision is a weak one I wrote. That's not even like part of the library. I wrote that. Is on is basically goes back to over here. You know, what is block 0? You know, position 0 from your feet, 0, X, Y, and Z from your feet. Is in is, you know, what is 1 and 2. Is below would be 3. And again, like I said, I can play with the variables to extend it, because right now this just would tell you what's immediately around you. You'd want to actually know, you know, what's 5 things out from you and stuff like that. So has equipped, that'll be a good one. Has equipped, but we have to basically the firing nodes need to be predetermined. You know, attack needs to be a predetermined entity. 'Cause it can't, right now we're passing that data forward. It needs to be like attack, you know, to the left or to the right, you know, or attack. Yeah, it's tough to say. Attack, whatever, defined entity directly in front of you and attack. I don't know. That'd be, I mean, reality with everything except the bow, it would just be find entity. So, because then we'd have to be praying that they'd look at a different, look towards that entity. But I'm just praying, this sounds bad, but, waiting or hoping that they, all the stuff would line up. So, again, this requires much more precision, but it also gives it the ability to be much more precise. But we have to have the nodes line up. So, like right now, you guys see the nodes, they're, 1 to 1 a lot of times, sometimes 1 to 2, like that, or, 2 to 1. And so that's a single layer. It's not really deep learning. And when we start right now, when we see patterns that are more if that, and in this and that, it's starting to break down. We see these fire off, but the more our trouble, and this node is dependent on outputs from these nodes, not just Boolean true and false, using the sigmoid function. Yeah, just use my big verbs there, because we're not using a sigmoid function at all, really. So this being an output, input, for those of you guys. We just need Booleans, like the true, 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 and go. So like if there was a block, I'm going to go with a fiver here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're here. If this is sand and this is water, then walk backwards, or jump. Jump's an easy one. Walk backwards is an easy one. If, I'm just going to change the color here. If this is, air, and this is air, then, jump, I don't know, something like that. And eventually, ideally, we'll have this thought process that's, hundreds of these things, and what I could probably do. Sorry, I just started making weird noises there. I could wire each one of them, every single one of them, up to multiple paths there and ensure that all gets going. So we've got a really intertwined neural network. But the thing I've got to change is my outputs. The thing that's going to be the toughest is entity-based stuff. Because, yeah, those entities don't have, like with blocks, you can use relative positions. The entity-based stuff is going to be tricky. We're pretty much just going to have to do everything with whatever it's facing at. So if it's facing that way, in that case it would be this one though. But you kind of get what I'm saying, hopefully. If you don't, comment and I'll try and clear it up. That's the outputs. This little brainstorm tells me it's all on the outputs. If I can get the inputs to relative, and the entities, figuring out how to do the entities, because if you can sense an entity or an entity, I guess we could say we could go completely by the entity's position. Damn it. Why are you not drawing right now? Oh, it's the eraser's up. So entity position, maybe. We actually can't guarantee that there'll be an entity in any specific position. I can't pass forward positions. I can store them in memory, maybe, but I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm going to think on this more. But thank you guys for watching. This is my first attempt to use, what is this thing? Procreate to screencast. Thank you guys for watching. Chaos Craft. Again, I'm Matt. Check out my blog. Whoa. I triggered some type of magic menu. Ship or getoffthepot.com. I'm going to just stop